arms and never leave me. Don't leave me, boy. Tell me if you want to follow me, to follow me. Take me to your arms and never leave me. Don't leave me, boy.
Four French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. They're three wide again. Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across. They're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. You know, these are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and his race is going off.
I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Anderson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head to head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Finish. I think Dennis Melchett has done enough to win the last round of the championship and to win the title all in one fell swoop.
British Boring Car Championship, things are never chilled here. Honestly, the cars may be a bit dull, but wow, the racing certainly isn't.
Fastest lap of the race now, Ben Lambert.
Look at Andy Fox coming through the middle. He makes a little bit of contact.
Dave Waldock is around and he's off on the grass.
Brayfield tries to go right round the outside of Druids. You do not do that and get away with it very often.
Takes the win in round 12. There's contact again. Fraser Smith and Dennis Melchett are off the circuit. Well, hello everybody, hello indeed, welcome to Chaz Draycott Media and welcome to another race meeting here in the British Boring Car Championship by Abruzzi Racewear. My goodness me, it's been a while since we last did this and it's great to be back here at the wonderful Oulton Park in Cheshire, my home circuit up here in the northwest of the UK, but also a massive, massive challenge for these drivers. This place is narrow, it's undulating, it is a real nightmare of a circuit to get right, and in cars like this where you have to be absolutely on the edge at all times, there is no room for mistakes. I'm Chaz Draycott and I'm delighted to once again be joined by the wonderful Ed May in the commentary box. Ed, we've certainly got a great championship fight lining up coming into these last few meetings, haven't we?
Yes, we do. I believe this is the penultimate race meeting before we have the season finale in a week's time. So the drivers have had plenty of space and time to just get themselves settled, get their practice in, and then go full chat for the next 2 weeks to decide who will take the crown in the British Boring Car Championship by Abruzzi. And I remember from stories you told me, Chaz, that last time we came to this circuit, we were here early on in the season, it was a real belter of a round.
Yeah, absolutely was. It was a real stormer, and we had some new winners to the championship and drivers that certainly sprung up a bit of a surprise for us, which was lovely to see. It was Kyle Ridley that took the first race victory on the night, and then Sam Van Alst won the second race of the evening after a bit of drama with his teammate John Bailiff getting taken out by a mistake from one of the other drivers, but it was still great entertainment. This is how the championship stands, though, with just 2 meetings left, and as you'll see, it's 1 point between Jake Cranstone and Henry Morse on 147 and 146. Henry going that well in the championship that he's ahead of all the other teams other than Team Jane Fonda, which is Stephen Burns and Kyle Ridley. Kyle up there in 3rd place in the championship at the moment, Stephen Burns in 8th, but it's mighty close in the middle of the pack. But as we get to Oulton Park here with just 2 meetings to go, Ed, we've already got ourselves a champion crowned effectively, haven't we?
Yes, we certainly do. We've crowned Jake Cranstone as the Independence Championship. I think it's the Mediocre Cup for Independence. We affectionately call it here at the British Boring Car Championship. And to be fair, he hasn't had much competition, has he? I think the nearest drivers to him just haven't been able to secure the wins that he's been able to over the course of the season.
No, absolutely not. He's been pretty much unchallenged in that for quite a while now. I mean, looking at the previous scores, he's won 16 races. No, I can't count. He's won 11 races in the Independence Championship, and we've had 14 so far. And in the 3 that he hasn't won in his category, he's been second twice.
We're 14? I thought we've only had 12, haven't we? Because this is around 13 and 14.
This
is it not?
Round 15 and 16, this one.
Oh, flipping heck. I was looking at the graphic. The graphic might not have been changed since last time. But
yeah, that's my bad.
That might have been the case. Sorry about that. My head's full of illness and various other things that I'm not quite on the ball today. As Jake Cranstone's not quite on the ball, he's gone around the wrong bit of the circuit there, going towards Shell Oils.
Takes the international layout of the circuit around the far side. Here's Stephen King. We'll ride on board with Stephen at the end of this practice session and see whether he can give us a decent enough guide around this Oulton Park circuit. Going down towards Old Hull Corner, very tough indeed. It's a late apex here and there's a massive hump on the grass on the inside. You go over a crest on the exit, but you can use a lot of that runoff and get away with it. You can use so much of it. Down through the avenue, then in towards Cascades. Very tricky corner this. The car sort of compresses down onto the suspension partway around the corner, and you get a shed load more grip all of a sudden. The drivers will have to be careful with incident points on the exit there with the track limits, and it looks to me like Stephen King's going to go for the international layout as well. Actually, they were supposed to go right there at the hairpin on the island layout, but no such running from Stephen, unfortunately. If we go on board with Michael Ellett, he might show us how it's done. There is the drop at Cascades, and the car suddenly grips up on the exit. It's only about a minute and a half a lap here in these cars, and the field is separated by less than 2 seconds. This is how it's supposed to be done. Ellett hard onto the brakes. It's a very bumpy braking zone, quite a pointy hairpin as well. It's not perfectly round. And then hard on the throttle, up over Hilltop, over the crest here, which is usually a very high-speed section in most layouts of this track. And down to the Foster's chicane, the Knickerbrook chicane. It's got many different names. Foster's is the first right-hander here. Michael's gone a little bit hot into there. It's going to be important to miss those tyre stacks tonight. This is Knickerbrook, an off-camber over-crest right-hander, which is a nightmare. You can clip that curb all you want on the left and then up Clay Hill. I've tried to ride up that on a push bike, and it's a lot steeper than it looks in the sim, I can tell you that for free. Down towards Druids, through what is known as Water Tower, and then a double apex right-hander. Hit the first apex, let it go a little bit wide, and then take a late apex through the second part. Use all the curb on the left-hand side. Then down through the very smooth bumps towards Lodge, and then hard on the brakes. Lodge dips down, and then over a crest, and it's a blind exit. Down Deer Leap, and then up Deer Leap again, and across the line in the not quite straight here at Oulton Park. It's a very technical circuit, isn't it, Ed, with a lot of very smooth flowing bumps on the track. They're not sort of aggressive changes of concrete, but it can really catch a driver out like that because they don't come to you so suddenly.
Yeah, it's so easy to get caught out, especially I think through Cascades. It's such a tricky corner because you take it, then you need to take it at quite a high rate of speed, and you feel like it's going to rush out wide, and then the car compresses down, and you get that extra bit of grip to take you through the corner. It's so difficult to get right, though. So some of the drivers might find that a tricky one to get nailed on for qualifying, which will begin in just a minute's time.
Absolutely. Not long now before qualifying gets underway. And of course, the first race of the night has its grid ordered by qualifying, with a point going to the eventual pole sitter. But then the second race of the night has the top 10 reversed. You only score points inside the top 10 positions in this championship as well. It's something that has been a real talking point over the season, is how savage the point system is here. You've got only 15 points for a race win. You get 1 point for 10th place. But at the start of the season, we did have 24 cars. We've got a number of them, unfortunately, not racing this evening. But it's a natural occurrence later on in the season, which will see drivers drop off eventually. But a number of them out tonight, either due to illness or other commitments elsewhere. So certainly the championship could get shaken up in these last couple of race meetings. 2 races at each, so a maximum of 62 points still on the table for everybody here. And then in the Independents Championship as well, you get 10 points for finishing in first in your category, and then it's 8, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2 and 1. So all the cars will now very quickly disappear as the session ticks over. Patrick Dopart, one of the last cars out there on track. Barney waves the checkered flag in the background, and the beautiful Oulton Park circuit will now, as it all sorts itself out, re-welcome the cars to the circuit. You'll see everybody now make their way back out on track. This isn't a camera I've edited this time, actually. Usually we set up a pit lane camera for a gorgeous shot of all the cars making their way out. Dan Downing is the first one to make his way out there. He's currently second in the Independents Championship as well, in the Mediocre Cup for Independents, on 83 points ahead of Jack Johns, and then Andy Fox, who is back with us again this evening, hoping to improve further. He's hoping to try and gain third place from Jack Johns, but the Independents can be recognised by these blue number boards that they have instead of the white and black number boards. They also have a little blue strip next to their name on the timing towers as well. So, to be fair, Ed, one thing we need to keep our eye on as well is the Teams Championship here, because Team Jane Fonda, top of that pile at the moment, certainly one's worth mentioning because, well, it's been a great season by Stephen Burns and Kyle Ridley, and we picked up on that from the very first race meeting, didn't we?
Yes, we did, and to be fair, it's been essentially Stephen Burns and Kyle Ridley up against one man, and that is Henry Morse, who has got all of the points for Team Netcode, who's just 14 points shy of Jane Fonda, currently out at the top of the Teams Championship standing. So it's going to be intriguing to see if they can work together. We know that, of course, Henry Morse has a championship to fight for, so he's going to be focused on one thing and one thing only, and that is beating Jake Cranstone, his rival that come into this, the penultimate race meeting of the British Boring Car Championship, with him separated by just a single point. Jake Cranstone has the slim advantage, and maybe that could be advantage enough. How many times have we seen championships decided by a single point before, Chaz?
Oh, absolutely. It could come down to just a pole position here and there that separates the two of them. They've both been on absolute fire all season as well. There's not really been any certain rounds where they've massively dropped the ball, to be honest. Jake Cranstone has scored points in every single race. In round 4 of the season, he only got 1 point. Henry Morse has also scored points in every single race. He's got the same amount of wins. I think we figured out I think Jake's got 1 more second place than Henry. That's the main difference. But Henry's lowest point score has been 5 points, actually, which means his lowest finish is 6th place all season, which just shows how consistent he's been. But Jake has been a little bit more sporadic here and there, and somehow holds on to that 1 point advantage at the top of the pile. So here is Henry coming out of the hairpin. There's no sort of magic tricks about that hairpin at all where you take a sort of wider line or anything like that. You've just got to hug the inside as much as you can in a car like this, haven't you?
Yeah, try and keep the speed up as much as possible as well. There's not a lot of speed in these cars to keep up, so any little extra kilometre an hour you can get is all the more important. Henry Morse there coming through Knickerbrook up towards Clayle, running slightly wide. That will invalidate his time.
Yeah,
so we'll need to go around again. But there's so many points around this circuit where if you do run wide, that's your lap over and done with. We might see a few drivers struggle to set times until later on into the session, which, I mean, to be fair, with the 15 minutes that they start off with, there isn't a whole lot left, coming up to 11.5 minutes now. So Approaching the third of the way through the session already. No time's being set. Jake Cranstone will be the first to try and do so. I think he's got a couple of cars ahead of him, actually. No, it is Cranstone who's the first to set a lap, and it's a 36.156. Burns and King slot in behind, and you can see them using all of the runoff area through turn 1. It's down through Cascades. Cars threatening to break away at the rear end, isn't it there, Chaz?
Yeah, you can see it just sort of floating sideways. This car has a strange understeer then oversteer drift about it, and the drivers have to be very tuned into that and know where the limits are. As we've said all season, it's one of the cars that is easy to drive but hard to get pace out of, and slipstreaming isn't massive in these things. You do get a little bit of a tow from one another, but it's never colossal. This is Michael Blake and Dave Waldock together on the circuit. These two have both competed before in the championship. Michael Blake carries that number 2 proudly because he finished second in season 2 of the championship. He's had a bit of a rougher ride this time round with it. Dave Waldock carrying the number 7 that he entered the championship with. And funnily enough, actually, him and Michael Blake have both finished second in this championship before. Waldock in season 1, second to Dennis Melchett. Michael Blake second to my brother, Matt Draycott, who is the reigning still British Boring Car Champion. Matt also won the Independence Championship, and with Team Red Ring, who we see Stephen King driving for, and his teammate Josh Rayfield, he actually claimed the Teams Championship as well. So every trophy available has been won by my brother. Everyone claims fix, but it's definitely not the case. It's the last thing I'd want to see is have my brother winning it, because I'd never hear the end of it. Still, Duncan Marai has asked where Jack Johns is this evening. Unfortunately, don't see Jack on the roster for tonight, so hopefully wherever he may be, he is well. And we've got a number of drivers not quite taking part tonight, to say the least. Like I said, some of them away with illness or other commitments elsewhere. I think the highest in the championship I don't see there is John Bailiff, actually. John Bailiff, 6th in the standings for Nodaphone. I think he's at a concert tonight, he said. Stephen Burns is there. Jack John's also not there. Magic Sakovic is with us again this evening for team Might Just Fit. I've still not fixed the grey on that windscreen banner. Maybe for the last round we'll get that right. Tim Rutten not able to be here either. There's a few others as well.
Sorry, Chaz, just noticed Henry Morse has gone pole position.
Tasty.
Taking it from Cranstone by, well, a quarter of a second. Just about. That's a very tidy lap time there. I think Jake Cranstone maybe struggled to get his time properly set. I think it might have been invalidated because it's the same lap time that we saw him set earlier on. Same with Andy Fox. Actually, Andy Fox did set the time and go ahead of Stephen Burns. If I remember rightly. King hasn't been able to improve on his time. Patrick Dopart slotted up above him, but then also taking a trip into the pits, maybe for fresh rubber.
Good stuff that by Andy Fox. Really good run at the moment. 3rd place outright. He'll be over the moon with that. He's had a bit of a tough season, up and down, but like I say, he's just aiming for more points within the independence category. Stephen Burns
Cranstone looking to improve here. He's going to come across the line very shortly, getting a nice little bit of slipstream as well, actually, isn't he? So this could be a wonderful time for Jake. He has a purple final sector, but it's not enough to improve on his position. He improves on the time, but, well, that's, what, 0.04 of a second between him and Henry Morse. That is very thin margins at Oulton Park. But Henry Morse, he was on a lap, but then decided to abort, coming to the pits for fresh tyres for the second half of the session.
And if you look there between this man, Kyle Ridley, and Andy Fox, there's only 1,000th of a second and 21,000ths of a second between 3rd, 4th and 5th altogether. There's less than a second covering the top 10 at the moment. So
look at the gap from Morse and Cranstone down to the rest of the field.
Yeah.
That just shows that when you're fighting for a championship, you can just go to another level than everyone else around you.
Yeah, absolutely. They really are on a mission, aren't they? Absolutely on a mission, bless them. They are really flying. And it's just more and more excitement for us here at the top end of the standings, because we get to see the two championship protagonists go head-to-head week in, week out. And we're going to be doing the maths as the night goes on, knowing that after this race meeting, there's only going to be a maximum of 31 points available. They're definitely not going to be separated by that much. After the first race of the evening, there will be 46 points on the table, and we look forward to seeing how they could potentially be shared out. In terms of the independents, it's Jake Cranstone ahead of Andy Fox, then Dan Downing. Downing 9th place at the moment. And then Stuart Clark, the 4th independent. Good to see Stuart back on our screens again. He missed a round previously. He had a connection issue as well earlier on in the season. So it's good to see Stuart back out there in the Independence Cup, the mediocre cup for independents. It's a joke name based on the fact that it used to be called the Michelin Cup for independents as well. Sponsored by Michelin, but they used to say it in a French accent, all funny. Of course, the British Boring Car Championship, poking a bit of fun at the British Touring Car Championship with the liveries and with the name as well. Thanks also to Sim Racing Magazine and Sim Stickers as well, by the way, our championship sponsors, as well as the headline sponsor, Abruzzi Racewear. We're very grateful for each and every one of you that continues to support this great series, season in, season out, and we love to have you with us. As Stephen Burns for Team Jane Fonda pops up to the top of the times. He'll be over the moon with that. Very, very good job by Stephen. Up into 3rd place, right at the sharp end. As, whoa, dearie me, Michael Blake has a moment, one way then the other, somehow doesn't hit Stephen Burns. And that's going to have affected some of the guys around him, but that's the thing, isn't it, Ed? This car will let go on you like that when you're least expecting it.
Yeah, it really can do. It's so tricky to keep it, and it's through Cascades, the corner that we highlighted earlier, where it's so tricky to get right, and if there is this corner where the rear end's going to break away from you, it's going to be through that downhill left-hander, rear just getting a little bit too light. Henry Morse, seemingly, he's been on that outlet for a while, so he might have gone on around for a lap and then come back into the pits again for a second time. Here we see him. He did come out ahead of Cranstone, so maybe he's just looking for the window where he can get some nice slipstream. Could be helpful behind Sam Van Olst, who is a race winner at this venue. Sam's not quite got the same pace that I think we saw from earlier on in this season around here.
Yeah, Sam Van Olst was rapid at Foster's, but it seems like now, at the moment, he's not quite on the same sort of track at this point in time. But we'll have to keep our eye on him, see what he can do as the night progresses. There's always plenty more time for it to get better. And at the end of the day, we've seen drivers have not the best qualifying session, but then make great progress in both races and eventually come through and take race victories. Is Dan Downing going to improve because he had a lot? Yes, a lot of green sectors, and he goes 3rd fastest now, pushes Burns down to 3rd, and then Andy Fox down into 5th place. Still only 1,000th of a second between himself and Kyle Ridley. It's important for Sam Van Olst as well that he's inside the top 10, because even if he finishes there in the first race, he'll be back on pole position for race number 2. Henry Morse continuing to sort of weave around behind him, get a bit of temperature in the tyres, and he's going to push on now to try and go for a faster lap and get even further away at the top of the order, because he knows that regardless, that is not a safe buffer to have over Jake Cranstone. Jake could find 39 thousandths quite easily, we reckon, but they've got to also remember that as soon as that clock hits 0, the session is over and that is it. It's not a case of them being able to finish their laps. As soon as it hits 0, everyone gets chucked out. Yeah,
the stopwatch is not in Cranstone's favour, that's for certain. The 2 Arena Motorsport cars currently 2nd and 3rd. Obviously they're down as independents, but they are the Arena Motorsport machines that take part in the British Touring Car Championship, just with that lovely sort of chrome at the front fading into the black at the back. So actually, it's Jake Cranstone simply backing off from this lap and giving himself one final attempt, because he won't be able to have a subsequent lap after this next one. He will not have enough time, and he's in a bit of traffic.
A bit of traffic, yeah.
The car ahead, which is, who is that? It's just ahead of him. Is that Patrick Dopart? I think it is. Can get a shift on. Maybe it'll be in his favour, but at the moment, look at the congestion all around him. It's working very much in Henry Morse's favour.
It's just
Henry, I think, is pushing on a lap to try and improve his time.
It's just one massive train, isn't it? Henry Morse has done a green 4th sector, so he's improved on his own personal best around there. He's then going to be heading into the final couple of corners. He's got Sam Van Olst in front of him, who has not improved on his times either.
I think he's backing away from Sam Van Olst to give himself more space. He's not going to be pushing on this lap, but will do on the next one. He might have enough. He will have enough time to set a further lap. And so, of course, does Jake Cranstone. So it's going to be a shootout between the championship protagonists. And look, Cranstone's caught right up to the rear end of Patrick Dopart. I'll hope that the Polish driver will have a good run through this final half a lap, because if not, he's going to get stuck, and that's not what he wants to see at all. Where is Jetta going to rejoin? Thankfully not in front of him, and there's 2 purple sectors in the first 2 sectors for Jake Cranstone. No improvement in the middle one. That was through the chicane, and that might have held him up just a touch. Now, all-important run through Druids. Get the car pitched in nicely. You can see the angle of attack was brilliant, really hitting the apex nicely. And again, careful on the exit. Didn't run too wide to get himself an invalidation. Improvement there in the second to last sector. This could be enough to take pole position.
Let's have a look then. Down the hill goes Jake Cranstone over the crest. He's got Andy Fox just in front of him there. And across the line he goes in the independence category. Doesn't improve in the final sector, but I imagine it's going to be enough. And it is by 83 thousandths of a second. Jake Cranstone goes fastest. Stephen King hops up as well. Kyle Ridley is now 4th. Dan Downing goes back up into 3rd place. And it's Jake Cranstone that is fastest at the moment. What about Henry Morse? He's got 3 green sectors. Yeah, he's improved in 3 places. Not in sector 5. Hard on the brakes he goes. Sam Van Alst has gone straight on. He's helped out Henry Morse a lot here by the look of it. Sam Van Alst has given up on the lap time. He's done a Russell Spence and gone straight to the fence. Here comes Henry. Tucks it to the left-hand side. It must be good. It will be very close indeed. And it's not enough. Henry Morse, a 35.94, does not improve. So Jake Cranstone, already at the start of the evening, opens up his championship advantage. He's doubled it. It's now 2 points instead of 1 point. Jake Cranstone will be over the moon. Downing is 3rd ahead of Stephen King. And then it's Kyle Ridley and Stephen Burns, Andy Fox, Patrick Dopart, Magic Sakovic and Sam Van Alst complete the top 10. Boy, great end to the session there, Ed. Plenty going on. And again, a shootout between our top 2.
It's going to be so intriguing how they get off the line, though, because, of course, it's going to be... Is Jake Cranstone going to have the outside line in towards turn 1, but then the inside through Cascades?
Yeah, you're right, actually. It should be. Should be if it was accurate to Oulton Park, but we'll see. It's Jake Cranstone on pole position then with Henry Morse alongside him. Dan Downing and Stephen King on the 2nd row, ahead of Kyle Ridley and Stephen Burns. And all Team Jane Fonda, row 3. Andy Fox is next up in 7th place, ahead of Patrick Dopart. Then it's Magic Sakovic in 9th and Sam Van Alst in 10th. Michael Blake will line up 11th, ahead of Dave Waldock, the 2 of them coming all the way through from Season 1. Then Stuart Clark and Michael Elliott on row 7. John Roberts in the dodgy MOT car lines up 15th and at the back of our reduced field for this race meeting. There is the field, Ed, and it is going to be Jake Cranstone on the outside line indeed, so that's going to be interesting to see whether he can hold it there or whether Henry Morse can get a good enough run. Some of the cars a bit further down the order will have a bit of a downhill run, essentially, but if John Roberts was any further back, he'd actually be sort of looking uphill. But luckily, the field not big enough to trigger that today.
Yeah, so that might work for some of the drivers' favour, work against the others. See Jake Cranstone and Henry Morse both with uphill rides. Same with Dan Downey. Stephen King's car seems to be a little bit more in line. I might have a good start. Drivers just getting settled onto the grid, waiting for Sam Van Alst, and then the first race of the evening will begin. And tell you what, this is going to be a very tasty front row. Henry Morse could try something up the inside, but then he's going to be stuck all the way down through that left-hander. So tricky, isn't it?
It really is, and Sam Van Alst pops into place now, and the lights will come on as round 15 of the 2023 British Boring Car Championship by Abruzzi Racewear from the wonderful Oulton Park Island Circuit is underway. And there's smoke puffs everywhere as Michael Elliott, I believe, jumped the start in the background. The way that the straight curves slightly to the left has helped Jake Cranstone. He's got a really good getaway and he stays in front of Henry Morse. What can Ridley do around the outside of Stephen King? What a great run that is by Kyle Ridley. He gains a place already. King now has to defend from Burns, who wants to also take it around the outside to then get the inside of Cascades. That's not going to work for him. Andy Fox clatters the curb on his way down there. And it's all nice and tidy by the look of it at the moment. We go on board with Michael Blake down towards the hairpin for the first time, Ed. This is where the main shuffling will begin.
Absolutely, and it's going to be so tricky. Obviously, cold tyres, cold brakes. It's so easy to get into the ABS and go straight on us. That was nearly what we saw Sam Van Alst do. He managed to get it stopped just in time and made lovely few moves there, up 2 from the start to make it into 8th places. Michael Blake was having a bit of argy-bargy there. Was that with Sakovic's team rate?
It was indeed. I don't think he knew they were 3 wide there, because Draycott had gone on the grass and then ran wide on the exit of the corner, and then he was trying to recuperate after losing all those places. Don't think Michael knew they were 3 wide. Oh, there's a bit of a touch on the exit. He shoulder barges him off the road. Draycott keeps his foot in it. It's a front-wheel drive car. Waldock absolutely cacks himself as he comes back on, and Waldock goes around him. At the front, though, Jake Cranstone leading Henry Morse by just about a car length. The two of them glued together, already with an advantage over Dan Downing, Kyle Ridley, Stephen King, and then Stephen Burns. Andy Fox in 7th place, 3rd in the independents. But already, our 2 championship protagonists, you couldn't write this, Ed, the pair of them glued to each other at the end of the first lap as if nothing else matters.
Henry Morse has a brilliant run there coming through Deer Leap. Is he going to look to the inside and towards turn 1? He's thinking about it, but no. Backs out of it. Forces Jake Cranstone to take a bit more speed, actually. Bumps him just a touch in towards turn 1. Makes him run a little bit wide of the apex. But these pair are just a real treat to have in this championship. And I tell you what, if it stays as it is, Jake Cranstone will be very happy with this. Got the perfect getaway, but now look, they're going side by side. Henry Morse looking to go all the way around the outside. Maybe go for a switchback on the exit of the hairpin. Not quite.
It sounded like he made a little bit of contact with the back of him there, as if he tried that one. Let's have a look what happened to Patrick Draycott back at the start of the lap. This is when... Oh, sorry, this is Michael Blake going past him, actually. Patrick Draycott here, going off the road down towards the hairpin. So he goes over to the left, and we were on board with Michael Blake, and he made a great cutback down the inside of his teammate. So Draycott goes down the inside. He's a bit late on the brakes, takes it on himself to go straight on. He's very lucky that car didn't spin there, to be honest. But this is where the contact came in. Sakovic wants to leave room. Blake doesn't know they're 3 wide. It's just a little tap, and Sakovic gets back in front. Hopefully that hasn't done anything to Michael Blake's car. I don't think it would have damaged it. But yeah, these pair at the front doing a great job at the moment. Ridley wants a podium here, and he wants to attack Dan Downing. In terms of the Independents Championship, even if Dan lost this position, he wouldn't actually lose points. As there's a car off in the background there. John Roberts has been for a spin down at Druids. Let's see what's gone on here. It's very easy to do it here at Druids, isn't it, with all the crests and rises and bumps, Ed?
So easily done. We'll have a look as they go through. Oh, just tap the grass on the way in.
Whoa.
As I've just had a look at the timing tower, and there's a bit of action out in front. Henry Morse got his nose ahead for a brief moment, but look, Jake Cranstone is fighting back side by side down through Cascades. Henry Morse with the wider line, but gets the car pitched in beautifully, and now he's got the speed out of the corner and going towards the hairpin.
He had a real sideways moment mid-corner, and it's actually fired the car out of the exit. He's still going to hang it around the outside. He turns in early. He's very confident that Jake was going to get in early as well. And this has actually closed them up again now, because Dan Downing is suddenly back in the picture. Dan's had a rotten luck season so far, and we're hoping for Dan's point of view that it will get better and better, but it's still side by side. Downing actually finished the very first race of the season in 2nd place, and he hasn't been on the podium since then. But look at these two. Morse around the outside on the way into the chicane does it, but then, of course, as the line switches, Jake Cranstone gets back in front. They just slot together. Kyle Ridley says, oh, there's a gap there, boys. Oh, Downing says, no, there isn't, sunshine. You can keep that and have your netcode to go with it. Stephen Burns and Stephen King both with a front row seat of all of this as well. Stephen King is definitely not one to back out of this either. Let's go on board with him and see what it's like. All bumper to bumper through this field. This is awesome, awesome stuff. This is exactly what we're used to in the British Boring Car Championship, but it's still colossally entertaining.
Side by side, everyone's looking for the outside line up ahead, maybe not getting the run. And now he's got a bit of breathing room in behind, because Dan Downing was having to defend from Kyle Ridley as well. So that's going to be a welcome break for Henry, because he was having to worry about 1 car ahead and 1 car behind. Jake Cranstone, though, we've only just gone past the first 5 minutes, and he's having to sustain a lot of pressure from behind.
Yeah, he's doing a great job, isn't he, Jake Cranstone? Exactly what he needs to do. He's just one of those drivers that can put the car in the right place at the right time all of the time, it seems. We've got a massive train all the way down to 9th place at the moment from the very front of the field, and Magic Sakovic will be happy to hold on to 9th. Michael Blake will be happy with 10th, as that'll put him on pole for a reverse grid race. As down the inside goes Stephen Burns on Andy Fox. Nice opportunistic stuff. That gets the car stopped into the hairpin and just slots in front. Wow, that was very close to Andy's bumper. I was worried he was going to hit the inside of Stephen King there, but Stephen left just enough room as well. And it was all fair in love and war. This is a real solid train of cars. But again, the respect is massive, isn't it, between all of them? Even if you look now at Patrick Draycott, the whole field almost, other than maybe Stuart Clark, John Roberts and Michael Elliott. It's just one massive train yet again here, Ed. This is why we love this series so much.
So close racing here, and obviously Oulton Park has got a reputation for a circuit where it's difficult to overtake, but I've got a feeling the drivers are just waiting, biding their time. We know in the first race they take things a bit more cautiously than they will in the second, as Kyle Ridley has had a moment here. He's just blinked in out front, so that was not quite him having an issue and dropping down the field, but he's going to have to keep an eye on the internet situation, as Jake Cranstone is not having any rest whatsoever, because Henry Morse is essentially attached to his rear bumper now.
Fastest lap of the race as well by Henry Morse that time round, so he's certainly on a mission. And it's interesting actually, because both Dan Downing and Kyle Ridley have had their own little blinks in and out over the course of this race. Kyle Ridley's problem seems to be getting worse right now. Dan Downing had the one sort of blink earlier on as they got into Lodge Corner. Not a massive amount of movement in the field. Sam Van Alster's gained 2 places at the moment, and he's
so close. He's looking for it as well.
He is actually. Around the outside, tries to go later on the brakes, then he's going to try and get the cut back on the exit. Just doesn't work for him. Jake has just so switched on as to where to put that car, isn't he? Really good at defending, and I mean, it's a very pretty car as the Jetta at the right angle, but I know he won't be thinking that Henry's is pretty right now. He won't want to look at it too much, but the respect these two have got for each other and the close racing we've seen from them all season, for them to just come here to be separated by 1 point as we get to Oulton Park is just awesome, and this is exactly how we want it to be. You know, we want it to be a fair fight and a close fight for the championship, and there's still 3 races to go after this one.
I think it's just about Henry piling the pressure onto Jake. He's not necessarily looking for the moves into the hairpin, but just forcing Jake to take a compromised line, take it tighter, use a bit more of the front tyres on turn-in, and then later on, when the car becomes a bit more worn and a bit more a handful, that's when the mistake might creep through again, looking to go around the outside.
Whoa.
Very late on the brakes as well. Is he going to get the run out of the corner? This will be the important mark up through Deer Leap. Great respect from the pair of them. Now it's a left-hand bend, so Henry Morse will just get his nose ahead, but then will be on the outside for turn 1.
Thing is, though, it's very difficult on the inside here to get it right. And Henry Morse, is he going to make it stick? I don't think so. It's a shorter line for Jake Cranstone. Sure, on the way into the corner, he had to back off a little bit to make sure he didn't run wide. But on the exit, he's managed to make it work. Henry Morse is still down the inside into Cascades. He's running a little bit wide. The two of them understeering slightly, still clinging together. Plenty of space given on the exit, though. Epic respect. Andy Fox runs wide, has to pay to get back in. Kyle Ridley's having a blink around as well, looking behind Dan Downing. They're going 2 by 2 into the hairpin. Henry Morse turning in early again. Look at both of the pair of them blinking at the same time behind them. Henry's got so much confidence in Jake, though, and Jake is being so friendly with this that Henry can turn in, can't he?
He can, and this is where he almost got it done a few laps earlier into the chicane, all the way around the outside. Look at how late he is on the brakes. Is he going to get it stopped in time? Just about. That gives Jake Cranstone a bit more of room to work with, and then swipes across his nose. Going through Knickerbrook, but then up through Clay Hill. Henry Morse has the run and is looking for a gap. Is he going to try it all the way around the outside at Druids? That'd be very brave. I think he's just thought better of it.
Oh, I don't think so. He's still going to try and hang the car around there. Well, in the promo video for the championship, you see Josh Rayfield go right around the outside at Druids, in the words of David Addison. And he called Josh Rayfield testicularly enhanced after he made that move work on Dennis Melchett. Morse tries it to show Josh that it's always the netcode cars that can make it work. Cranstone back down the inside again. I tell you what, everybody, if you want to see peak iRacing and respectful racing, this is exactly what you want to watch. This is just epic stuff again from the British Boring Car Championship. It's not like these drivers have got nothing to lose. Both of them are fighting for a championship. They've only got moments left in the season, basically, with only a couple of races left. The two of them are fighting for a race lead here where it could all very easily go wrong, and they're still side by side. Henry Morse still down the inside now into Cascades again. Doesn't let the car run wide. Jake Cranstone leaves the room down the inside. Is Henry going to finally do it? I'm really not sure. Dan Downing tries to pick his battles, knows which one that he wants to slipstream from. Henry Morse has got a lot more of the car in front here. How late on the brakes can he go? Tries to cut across. Jake goes a little bit deep. The two of them are literally scraping the tyre writing off each other's wheels right now, and they are still side by side on the exit. This is epic stuff.
Side by side for nearly an entire lap. Here we go, round 3 through this chicane. Henry Morse was a bit too late on the brakes. Has he learnt from that mistake? Yes, nice and tight on the inside. There's a little touch, but Henry Morse, I think, got the better of it, and I think that was more down to Jake Cranstone just turning it in a little bit too much rather than Henry Morse running wide. It was very thin margins, but into the lead of the race goes Henry Morse, and that could be crucial for the championship.
I think there was maybe a little bit of netcode there. I don't think that there was actual contact there. We'll see it from on board with Dan Downing. I think, unfortunately, Jake has been done in slightly there by the connection. Look, yeah, they didn't touch on my screen there, really. I think that was just a bit of netcode. Maybe just a few inches between them, sure. But that was epic stuff to watch and great respect. It's still going on. I mean, it's not like Cranstone's disappeared and his race is over. He's still only 0.2 of a second behind Henry Morse. And look at the whole field. That's all the way down to 13th place. Stuart Clark here, absolutely on the tail. This is the entire field almost for tonight. This is just epic stuff. Absolutely epic stuff yet again from the British Boring Car Championship by Abruzzi Racewear. There's movement going on as Kyle Ridley's connection continues to blink away, unfortunately. It's a shame that's happening, because sometimes when you are chasing someone with a connection like that, it doesn't give you the confidence to go past them or make a move, because you worry about when they're going to blink in and out. Jake Cranstone looks down the inside again. Stephen King thinks better of it. Stephen King has nailed him. Stephen King has nailed Jake Cranstone in the hairpin, and Dan Downing. Dan Downing rejoins into the circuit, hits Patrick Dopart. They're 3 wide over the hill. Stephen King got into the ABS trying to go for the move, and it reeked of impatience due to the connection. And Jake Cranstone finds himself, well, now in 9th place after regaining a place from Dopart.
There's a lot of damage.
But
that
yeah,
might need to be taken into the pits. Look, he's struggling to get the car turned. Oh my word, that is catastrophe for Cranstone.
After such an amazing run at the front of the field, well, Henry Morse is going to be laughing all the way to the bank now. He'll never wish that on his opponents at all, but unbelievable, unbelievable stuff. Stephen King just went down the inside into the hairpin. Let's have a look again, just see whether we can get it a bit further along the line. Yeah, Stephen went for it. I think he's fed up that Kyle Ridley's connection had been blinking in and out so much. Moves to the right and he goes, right, we're going to go for it. Gets into the ABS and the car won't stop. And he hits Cranstone and Downing. And, well, the carnage that follows is Fox, Burns, Sakovic goes through, Van Olst in there as well. Massive, massive championship implications.
I'll say this, though, because Henry Morse is a very, very lucky boy, because if he didn't get that move made on Jake Cranstone the lap earlier, he would have been in the firing line. It would have been him in that scenario.
Absolutely.
Deary me, that's just a sign that it's not necessarily the best thing to wait until the last lap to go for these moves. It's better to get them done at the earliest opportunity, because you never know what's in store later down the line. Now, Jake Cranstone, not sure if he's going to be taken back to the circuit, knows that he's going to be well outside any chance of points in this first race meeting. Probably just going to take some time to decompress and maybe focus on the second race and what he can salvage from it.
Well, a little bit of a tap there between Dan Downing and Stuart Clark. Dan Downing also struggling with the damage. That does indeed mean that the facts now are that Andy Fox leads in terms of the independents in this race. Don't think Andy's actually had an independent win so far this season. He has not. He's finished second twice in the independents category, so it will be his first win of the season. Maciej Sakovic and Michael Blake will be happy for some big team points behind them. Sam Van Olst, he's the highest mover in the field. He's gained 8 places actually in this one. He'll be thrown way further back down the top 10 again by the reverse grid if he finishes where he is. But I mean, I don't necessarily think Stephen King did too much wrong there, but there was nobody else to blame for that one, really, was there? It was just he went for the move and the car got into the ABS. It wasn't going to stop. And it just so happens that the drivers that he hit were drivers fighting for the championship. It's something that happens in this car. At the end of the day, he's only human. You can't force these guys to be perfect all the time, you know. And it's just a big, big shame to see. But yeah, I know Stephen will be kicking himself for that one, though. He's not going to be sort of going, oh well, and then just ignoring it and going on. He'll be hating these last few minutes because he's got no chance other to just carry on in the race and keep on racing now before he can then go and apologise. I'm sure he will. These guys all get on really, really well behind the scenes and in Discord. They'll all be in the same chat actually as well. Jake Cranstone is in there, and so too is Stephen King actually. So they're both in the chat together. They all do race together in voice chat, which is one of the beautiful things here, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think it's, like you say, it just reeks of impatience more than anything else from Stephen there. And I think it was just a moment of madness, I think is the best way you can describe it. Just seeing that car blinking ahead of him for so long, worrying about his own race, if that car's going to appear inside him and ruin his. He had to take drastic action to try and get ahead, but as soon as you get into the ABS on these cars, it just goes straight. It does not stop whatsoever, and that was, I think, the nail in the coffin that ended Jake Cranstone's race. But of course, the championship is not over. We still have one more race to go, in a race where Henry Morse is likely to start in the thick of the action in 10th place. He could have his own nightmare moment, and then Jake Cranstone will have a chance to claw things back.
Yeah, you never know. That's the thing in boring cars. It can very quickly go one way, then the other, this championship. We've seen it many times before. We used to have it so that the top 10 in qualifying got reversed for the first race of the night, and that really did shake the order up, but there was not massive enough incentive for it to ever be the same people up and down the order, really. Kyle Ridley has been off the circuit and back on again. I think he was damaged from earlier on, with his connection being an issue. As down the inside goes Maciej Sakovic and Andy Fox. These two have raced together for a long time as well. Foxy gets a great run around the outside of the hairpin. Sakovic has to take avoiding action on the exit, and all of a sudden the positions are reset again. Stephen Burns holding on for a podium at the moment. Not quite sure how many podiums Stephen's had this season. I don't think he's had a lot. No, he's only had one, actually. Round 6 of the championship, the third race meeting that we had. That was back here, actually, at Brands Hatch on the 16th of August, so nearly 2 months ago. Stephen Burns was the last time he was on the podium, so I'm sure if he gets that, he'll be over the moon with it. Andy Fox hasn't had a win in the Independents, and he also hasn't had a finish higher in the entire championship so far than 9th place. So both of these guys, and even the Might Just Fit cars of Maciej Sakovic and Michael Blake, all on for some of their strongest results of the season. And the battling is as if none of that matters. They're really getting on with it, aren't they? Foxy down the inside of Burns, still side by side on the exit. Sakovic wants a piece of this as well now, Ed.
Yeah, he's going to fancy an extra position gained as Andy Fox gets past around the inside to then become the outside in towards turn 1. A little bit of argy-bargy up in front. They're going to try and get through. Maciej Sakovic running very wide and losing out there, but just up ahead, I think that was Andy Fox that had his own moment, wasn't it?
Well, Foxy ran wide and then hit the side of Sakovic, basically. I think he's actually giving Maciej that position back, which is really nice. Maciej didn't have that position in the first place, but I feel like Andy felt responsible for that one, and again, that's lovely, lovely sportsmanship. Andy knows that he's still in the independent class lead, so he's still going to get the win there, but that was really nice stuff actually by Andy. I don't necessarily think he would have got a slowdown or anything for it. Let's have a quick look back. I think he was wide enough off the road for it, but we'll go back on board with Michael Blake as we did a moment ago. Just keep your eye on the car on the right hand side. You'll see Andy chucks it in, the back end steps out, and then it has this weird four-wheel drift where it understeers. I think he clipped the curb a little bit as well. He's trying to tuck it in. He's doing all he can there. Look, hits the curb, bounces into the side of Maciej, and that probably would have been a slowdown actually for Andy as well. But still, good sportsmanship at least. Sakovic up into 5th place, Blake up into 4th, but it's still Henry Morse leading the way with 1 lap to go.
Yes, and it's all gone to plan. In fact, better than he could have planned, I imagine, for Henry Morse. He's going to be scoring maximum points for the race victory, whereas main championship rival is all the way down in 15th, getting nothing. This is a huge pendulum momentum swing in the total, where when you think about it, how long has Jake Cranstone been in the lead of the championship? Near enough from the very first race where he won it, and then the second one where he extended it even further. But slowly but surely, Henry Morse has been doing a great job in catching up and keeping Jake Cranstone very honest, and then just through one mad moment, it's all been turned upside down. But that's part of the beauty of motorsport, is just how unpredictable it can be.
Yeah, absolutely. You never really know. You never know at all what's going to go on. I just realised how much I had the car noises turned down from earlier. I'm really sorry, everyone. We've got a great battle going on here, though, for 10th position. Stuart Clark in 10th at the moment is due to be on reverse grid pole position, but he needs to keep Dan Downing behind him, and that is for a championship point as well. But Henry Morse leads this race on the final lap through Knickerbrook once again. He's then got the rabble chasing him down, but they're not going to catch up with him. Henry, easily one of the fastest guys in the series. A great bloke as well, always lovely to speak to. I know that he won't be happy that that's what's happened to Jake Cranstone in this race. He'll have wanted a fair fight all the way through. Just a note as well, with Kyle Ridley's connection issue going on and off, in our timing software it says he's set the highest speed of any car in the race. He's done 720 kilometres an hour at some point around the circuit here at Oulton Park, which isn't easy to do, so hats off Kyle. But around the final corner to take what is going to be his 5th race win of the season, 3rd podium on the bounce, it's Henry Morse to win round 15 of the British Boring Car Championship here at Oulton Park. Sam Van Olst takes 2nd place and Stephen Burns gets a podium. Fantastic drives by both of them to make it through the chaos. Michael Blake and Maciej Sakovic next up. Andy Fox wins in the Independents for the first time this season. Patrick Dopart is 7th ahead of Dave Waldock, Stephen King, and Dan Downing does grab 10th place. He gets that final point and he gets reverse grid pole position. And, well, I'll tell you what, with the race that he had and the incident earlier on, he deserves that one. John Roberts is next up, and Michael Elliott will be the final car to complete the field. But the big drama there, of course, Ed, the big talking point is what happened to Jake Cranstone, but the fact that Henry Morse continues this amazing charge at the top of the pile and gets a maximum point score for the race itself.
Yeah, that's the main talking point, isn't it? That championship swing in Henry Morse's favour. Flipping heck, I think we need a little while to calm down after all of that, because that was absolute mania.
It really was. Henry Morse takes the race victory then. Sam Van Olst finishes in 2nd position, just ahead of Stephen Burns, with Michael Blake and Maciej Sakovic getting some strong points there for the Might Just Fit squad. Next up was Andy Fox, who takes a win in the Independents category. Very well done to Andy, with Patrick Dopart in 7th and Stephen King in 8th place. Next up was Dan Downing in 9th, and Stuart Clark actually completes the top 10, so I think maybe a penalty for somebody there actually. Dave Waldock has been given a penalty by the look of it, and he's dropped down outside the top 10, so Stuart Clark will start on pole position. Kyle Ridley is next up ahead of John Roberts and Michael Elliott. Dave Waldock was classified 14th in the end, and Jake Cranstone, of course, did not finish the race. Well, that was pretty rough, to say the least, that one. And I'm afraid that there's going to be a lot of talking about that one. The warm-up session is now going on, but none of the cars want to make their way out onto the track by the look of it. It's a very, very quiet few moments. It's only 10 minutes long, this session, so what Ed and I are going to do just in a sec is head away for a quick break and then come back before the next race. But Ed, what really else can we say about Henry Morse in that one? He did absolutely everything he needed to do and got the job done.
Yeah, brilliant stuff from Henry there, and that's going to be, well, pivotal for the championship. Goes into the second race of the evening, knowing that any points he scores doesn't need to go for the race win. If he just scores some good points, that will be wonderful as well. Emphasis is all essentially now on Jake to try and do the impossible and claw back what little he can from this evening.
Well, hopefully there's less incidents in the next race. There's a bit of a chat about Kyle's connection going on at the moment because it was blinking in and out quite a lot in that one. There's not really much he can do at his end, I don't think, but we'll have to see whether that gets fixed. We'll obviously keep the cameras on, and if anybody does head out in the warm-up, you will see it. But if you give Ed and I about 5 minutes, everybody, we're just going to take a quick break here on Chaz Draycott Media just to get a quick drink, and we'll be right back with you in a few. See you soon. Hello again, everybody. Chaz Draycott and Ed May here for the British Boring Car Championship by Abruzzi Racewear. We've certainly had a dramatic start to the evening with that epic race between Henry Morse and Jake Cranstone. Unfortunately, the incident involving Stephen King, Jake Cranstone and Dan Downing, and then the rest of the field had shaken up the order quite a lot, but we're back for more action now in what is going to be round 16 of the championship. So those drivers that were in the top 10 for that first race, not only did they get championship points, but also they will now be reversed on the grid. So the drivers that finished at the very front of the order will be 10th, 9th and 8th and so on, and then the drivers that finished 10th, 9th and 8th will be the other way round. So that will mean that Stuart Clark, the man we were just looking at a moment ago, will be the man starting on pole position for this race. Jake Cranstone will certainly be hoping to recuperate whatever he can in this situation. He got a point for pole position, but he is now 13 points down in the championship behind Henry Morse, who at the end of the day just did what he could do and went on to take the race victory in round 15. There's just 3 races left to go for the remainder of the season. 46 points on the board, and after this one there's going to be just 31 left. So if Henry can go into the final race meeting with a 13-point advantage or even 10 points, then it's going to look really safe. To be fair, it's hard to score points here when they're not given out for just turning up. You've got to put in a lot of work in this series to score points. Something that may change in future though, of course, to keep people still wanting to come back for more. But we have only a minute or so now before the next race of the night gets underway. Seems like there's a few drivers with connection issues this evening. Patrick Dopart was just blinking in and out there. And apparently Dave Waldock just got a tap at the end of the race, and that's what put him over the incident limit. So unfortunately for Dave, that's put pay to his result and put him further down the order. Stephen Burns there, Ed, just saying in the Discord that he had 14 incident points at about the 10-minute mark, and around here to not get 1 incident point for the remainder, that's very impressive considering how hard they were fighting.
Yeah, that's something else. That's really well done from him there. But tell you what, as we move over in towards the race session, Jake Cranstone, good to see him back out on the circuit. He's got a lot of work to do, but if there's anything that's going to light a fire beneath him, it'll be that race 1.
Yeah, definitely. He's got to channel that and not use it as anger, but just now use it as a bit of motivation for this second race of the night. This is how the grid looks. Stuart Clark and Dan Downing on the front row, with Stephen King and Patrick Dopart on row 2. Then we have Andy Fox and Maciej Sakovic on the third row. Michael Blake and Stephen Burns next up. Sam Van Alsten, race 1 winner Henry Morse behind them. Then Kyle Ridley and John Roberts. It seems like Kyle is taking to the start. so we'll have to see if his connection withholds. Michael Elliott next up with Dave Waldock in there, and Jake Cranstone will start from the back of the grid in 15th position after being the first retirement from that previous race. Plenty of pressure here on Stuart Clark for this one here, Ed. He's got 10 points to his name in the championship so far. Highest finish at the moment is 5th place, so he's had a good finish somewhere throughout the season. Can he get better and get a little podium here?
Well, if there's any round to do it at, why not this one at Oulton Park? The lights are going to change very soon, Chaz, to take us away.
So the British Boring Car Championship by Abruzzi Racewear gets underway from Oulton Park for round 16, and it is a great start by Stuart Clark. He gets that lovely initial hop off the line. Dan Downing and Stephen King side by side down in towards turn 1. Dan Downing uses the inside line to his advantage and stays in front. Everybody filtering off the road, running wide, but it's almost completely single file. No position changes at all down towards turn 1. Through the avenue they go, down now through Cascades. It is Stephen Burns looking down the inside of Michael Blake, trying to gain a place. Stuart Clark's gone deep, and it looks like Dan Downing has gone for the race lead here. He's overtaken Stuart Clark, who's gone a little bit too hot through Cascades. Stephen King is now on the outside line, turns in. A little bit of contact near the front of the field. I think they just got away with that. Maybe a little bit more argy-bargy further down, and John Roberts running wide. Waldock goes through the middle there ahead of Michael Elliott, who also ran wide. Jake Cranstone up into 12th place now, just 2 cars behind Henry Morse. But it's Dan Downing with a great start. He goes straight to the front of the field with Stephen King behind him, holding up the rabble.
Oh yeah, and getting a few bumps for good measure from Stuart Clark there as they come through Nickelbrook, up through now Clay Hill. Seems to me like Stuart Clark's a little bit disappointed by his poor start and is looking to make amends very quickly as he's going for one on Stephen King, but not quite able to pull it off.
No, not quite at that point, and Stephen Burns didn't end up staying in front of Michael Blake, actually. He's got a lot of damage on the rear of that car already. I feel like Sam Van Olst might have given him a bit of a nudge at some point. Cranstone has just made another place up and gone past Kyle Ridley. I think Kyle knows that his connection has become an issue. No, I thought he was letting him through. Dave Waldock trying a move as well. Stephen Burns has now got ahead of Michael Blake, apparently, according to the timing software. But it's Downing, King, Clark, Dopart and Fox, the top 5. Sakovic ahead of Burns and Blake side by side. Van Olst give Burns another hit there, and it actually fires him around the outside. And Van Olst just went for a gap that wasn't there in the end. Henry Morse tries to take advantage of that now, one way then the other. He knows that Cranstone's going to be fired up right behind him. Morse now trying to make more and more places from 10th on the grid. He's good at these second races, isn't he, Ed? He's very controlled in these situations.
Very controlled, very calm, which is what's seen him do so well over the course of this season. Doesn't let the occasion and circumstances get the better of him. And through the hairpin, looked for a move but thought better of it. Knows there's still plenty of time to go in this race. Jake Cranstone though, going for one on Sam Van Olst.
He is, gets to the left-hand side on the exit of the hairpin. He's going to be on the outside for the start of the chicane, and he's going to get it done, surely. He's got a great run off the brakes, and yes, nicely done. Lifts off the brakes, lets the car coast around the corner, knows exactly where the speed is, and he's absolutely nailed that, and he now moves into the championship point scoring positions. It's still Dan Downing at the front. Stephen King is now breaking away slightly from Stuart Clark. Patrick Dopart is the one putting pressure on him, the Polish driver trying to get up onto a podium spot. His usual sort of almost trademark third place result really for Patrick Dopart, isn't it?
It seems to be his favourite position. Very consistent, of course, which helps him scoring the good points that he needs for the championship. Essentially, it's him and Stephen King that are fighting for 4th place. Kyle Ridley was in 3rd position coming into the race meeting here tonight, but as it stands, he might be losing a little bit of ground here to those in behind.
I'm just wondering, in terms of the teams championship, whether Team Jane Fonda could actually win the teams championship this evening. Actually, I'm just looking at the points gap now. They were only 14 points ahead coming into this, to be fair to them, so I think they're going to need a considerable amount more than that to make the difference. You need something like 54, so they're not going to outscore the other teams by enough in this race to be able to do that, so that's going to go down to the wire in the last round. We'll have to keep our eyes on it. Sam Van Olst gets a run on Michael Blake, who had a look of it out the hairpin, but importantly Jake Cranstone has now moved ahead, so that means now that Henry Morse is on for 3 championship points and Jake Cranstone is on for 2. That will mean that the championship gap is 14 points going to Silverstone, where we will have an almost night race. It'll be a sort of afternoon sunset-y first race and then an almost pitch black second race, which will be very exciting. It's always a great way to round out the season. It's what we've done since season 1. But right now, Dan Downing is doing everything right here. He's not had a podium finish since the very second race of the season. Actually, sorry, the very first race of the season. He's not won a race outright all year. He was second place and then 10th. And since then, he's not finished really any higher than 4th. So he's had a bit of a season to forget as Dan Downing, because he is remarkably quick. And everybody kept telling me how quick he was coming into this championship as well. They knew that he was going to be one of the guys to beat. And he needs to prove that now by keeping consistent and staying ahead of this man, Stephen King, who is also absolutely rapid as well. I think Stephen's had a couple of wins. No, he's not won a race actually this season. He's had 3 podiums, but no wins for Stephen King. That's a surprise. I could have sworn he was on the top step.
I think now.
Apparently
I could have sworn so as well. Yeah.
We look back now from Stuart Clark, though. Patrick Dopart in 4th position. Patrick tries to just put the pressure on the independent. Of course, Dan Downing not only leading the race outright, but also leading the independence category as well, the mediocre cup for independents. He's had a couple of wins there, at least, over the course of the campaign as Dan Downing. Then again, no, he hasn't. Sorry, Dan Downing's still not won a race in the... What? How? I tell you what, we've certainly overlooked some missing results here, but Dan Downing hasn't won a race in the independents or overall all season, so if he can do this, this will go down wonderfully, especially considering how the first race of the night went. Jake Cranstone is still in 9th place. He's got Henry Morse just in front of him there, and then Stephen Burns as well. But he's having a good run so far, isn't he, Ed? Up 6 places.
Yeah, going very well for Jake at this moment in time. Henry Morse trying to find his way through as they come round Druids towards Lodge Corner. Sorry, Henry Morse looking for the inside. Hard onto the brakes. And he should get a nice exit power along, and Jake Cranstone taking great advantage. Streaming on by, and actually Jake might have a little run here on his championship rival, Henry Morse, as they go in towards turn 1. Maybe not. Backing off just a bit is Jake.
That was beautiful though by Jake Cranstone, wasn't it? Absolutely perfect opportunism, and really hats off as well to Stephen Burns for the respect and the sportsmanship there. He moved over to one side, gave Henry the space, but unfortunately sacrificed an extra position that he probably didn't want to. Cranstone did the fastest lap of the race last time round as well. It's great to see that he's been able to channel the disappointment of the first race tonight in round 15 into a great performance here. There's a lot of shaking and moving ahead of them. Patrick Dopart trying to go around the outside of Stuart Clark. He still can't make that move. Andy Fox is in there as well in 5th place. There's always movement in this championship and in these races. Not even at the halfway point yet though, Ed, and still the race is very much on.
Absolutely, there's still a lot to play for here and plenty of time to play it in. Stuart Clark currently hanging on to 3rd place ahead of Patrick Dopart, who, like you say, is really hungry for his traditional 3rd place finish. Andy Fox as well, who's currently 3rd placed in the Independence Cup, with Magic Sakovic and Patrick Dopart for company. A British filling with a Polish sandwich with the Polish drivers as the bread. It's a lovely little fight there, and actually here we go around the outside, maybe not long as Stuart Clark and Patrick Dopart. Patrick runs slightly wide. That's going to give the impetus to Andy Fox now, who gets the run over Deer Leap.
Yeah, and he gets a run, but not enough to actually line up. Somehow Dopart actually uses the sort of left kink of the straight to get still alongside Stuart Clark. He's round the outside on the exit of Old Hall. Everybody gets a collective track limits warning, and we reset again as now Stuart Clark heads them down towards Cascades. Dopart wants to look down the inside, doesn't get much chance to, as here comes Jake Cranstone down the inside of Henry Morse. The 2 championship fighters side by side once again, as they were very much of the first race. And still they remain together as they head down towards the island hairpin. Is this going to work out for either of them? Looks like Sakovic is going a bit deep into the hairpin. Can Morse get a position out of that? He's actually got ahead of Sakovic. Can he get the run now, though, as they go over the hill? All this wonderful multicoloured grid with Jake Cranstone at the bottom of our picture. Sakovic and Morse side by side just in front. Not sure Morse could make this work, you know. On that inside line, it's very tight there. Big hit from Fox on the back of Dopart. I'm worried for Henry Morse here because he could get mugged by Jake Cranstone if Jake plays this one cleverly. He's going to try and get a cutback, try and get a run. Oh, there's a gap there, but Jake doesn't want any of that. Good on him. That was good quick thinking by Jake there. He doesn't want a piece of that. Stephen Burns does, though. Look at him, he's sniffing the back of that Jetta, and still Henry Morse and Maciej Sakovic side by side.
In towards Druids. Can Henry Morse get the position made on Maciej Sakovic? He's going to just about have to run out of the corner. Nicely done. That was a few corners in the making, but he worked on it just little by little to edge up ahead. And Jake Cranstone, opportunistic as ever. Thank you very much. He's letting his championship rival do all the hard work, and he's just picking up the scraps.
He's going to be absolutely screaming, is Henry Morse right now. Every time he overtakes a car, Jake Cranstone's there to do it again as well. Maciej Sakovic has a look. Sam Van Ulster's come into the pit lane. Not sure if he's hit the incident limit or something there, and he's had to serve a drive-through penalty. We've just hit halfway through the race, and it's Dan Downing leading the way for the Independents, and then it's Stephen King in Team Red Ring hoping for his first win of the season. Stuart Clark trying to hold on to a podium then ahead of Patrick Dopart and Andy Fox as well. It's great to see these second races because, with no disrespect to any of these guys, you see drivers that aren't always at the sharp end of the first race really hanging it out in the second race. You know, they really do stand their ground and they hold their own in these second races of the night, and it's lovely to see it because when the qualifying pace isn't there, they've still got the race pace and the racecraft to have battles like this. Clark and Dopart right together now.
Yeah, look at this. Stuart Clark rolling on down to the chicane, and
lovely.
Look at that by Patrick Dopart. That was inch perfect just to carve his way through. And now look at Henry Morse.
Henry Morse sends it. Morse code indeed on Andy Fox down the inside. Cranstone then gets a run though. He's on the left hand side and he says, you know what, Henry, you've done yourself over there, sunshine. I'm going to try and go through down the inside. He's going to be on the outside for Druids now. The two of them together. Jake touches the grass on the outside. There's literally championship implications right before us here. This is so close, considering that these guys could both win or lose the championship with a big moment here. This is just epic. Epic entertainment. Foxy sends it, looks down the inside of Stuart Clark, doesn't work for him. Cranstone's missed out a little bit. Maciej Sakovic is going to get the run. Welcome to the British Boring Car Championship, everybody. This is the prime time entertainment you are looking for, especially now, even at the front. Dan Downing's getting closed in on by Stephen King here with 8.5 minutes to go.
Flip it out. This is going to go right down to the wire, right across the board. You can see how congested that mid-pack is. Henry Morse and Jake Cranstone right in the thick of it. One misstep, one mistake, and it could have, like you say, big implications for the championship. But I'll tell you what, that is another battle we don't want to lose sight of, isn't it? That battle for first position. Here we go, though. Look at the Jake Cranstone's going to find a way through on the inside of Henry Morse, but Henry with a nice exit and a bit of slipstream assistance, he's going to attempt to hang on as they get towards the chicane, and I think he'll just be far enough ahead not to have to worry. There we go.
I'm jiggling my head. I'm jiggling my legs so much right now in excitement. It's like I'm running on the spot. I'm absolutely fizzing with excitement at this race. This is once again the British Boring Car Championship doing what it does best and providing close racing all the way through. 7.5 minutes left to go here at Oulton Park. Dan Downing, the independent, hasn't won a race in the independent category all season, hasn't won a race outright all season, leads the way. Stephen King in second position. Came under fire a little bit earlier on because he outbroke himself and took out the championship leader at the hairpin in the first race of the night. He's doing a great job, though, it has to be said, in chasing down Dan Downing. Patrick Dopart's made his way up to third position for Team Bordeaux, hoping to get another podium to add to his impressive tally this season. And Stuart Clark, well, he's doing a great job after starting from pole position. He's really defended his honour at the moment and is hoping for a second place finish in the independent category in this race. I don't think he's had one of those so far this season. Yes, never mind, shut up, Chaz, he's had 2. But still, away from me not knowing the facts, there is a great battle going on in the middle of all this. Henry Morse and Jake Cranstone behind Andy Fox. The two championship protagonists are separated by a lot more points than they were coming here up to the virtual Cheshire. But we've still got a long way in this race left to go yet. Still 6.5 minutes. Seems like Ridley's... Oh, never mind. I was going to say his connection's got a bit better, but definitely not by the look of it there as he tries to attack Michael Blake. And actually Henry Morse is starting to make a move here on Stuart Clark. Can he get this one to work, Ed?
Well, he's going to be looking for any space possible. That there's none being afforded to him by Stuart Clark. Just good positioning from Stuart to frustrate everyone in behind. And he gets great runs out of the corners, but there's no real way through when you come up from Clay Hill in towards Druids. Drivers try the moves, but rarely they come to fruition. So his next bet is probably going to be Lodge Corner if he gets a good exit through from Druids. Doesn't seem likely though. Stuart Clark got a nice run himself. Oh, right, actually, he's going to try a late move to the inside. Thought about it. Instead, he's forcing Stuart to go defensive to get a good exit, but speed differential was so tense on the apex that he ended up running straight into the back of Stuart there. So Henry's just not quite able to find the way around. Maybe in the next few corners he'll get a nice run set up, potentially towards the hairpin.
Needs to be careful though, doesn't he? Because that big headbutt there into Lodge will have cost him 4 incident points, and you're only allowed to get 15 before you get a drive-through penalty. And when they're as close together as these guys are throughout the whole race, you can very easily rack up 15 of them. Stephen King doing a great job here at closing in on Dan Downing. All the lock in the world through the hairpin, shredding those front tyres. The tyres only just last about a 20-minute race, as Jake Cranstone has got past Henry Morse. Let's quickly have a look at how he did it. He's just going to go down the inside into the hairpin, is he? Morse wanted a move. Oh, look at that. It just finds the door down the inside completely open. Henry has a bit of a hop.
There.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Wow, what a run these two are having, though. Jake Cranstone now in front. He's only going to be gaining 1 championship point back on Henry as things stand here, but we were talking about it before, weren't we, Ed? 1 point could determine the championship come the end of this.
It certainly could. It could be all important as we get towards this, the business end of the season. And still, it's not over yet.
Oh, Cranstone!
Jake Cranstone late on the brakes. They're
Oh,
glowing bright, and it's just again desperation creeping in.
Yeah, that's not normally what we see from him, is it?
I think Clark was already committed to the turn-in.
Yeah, that's not normally what we see from Jake. You can tell there's a bit of pressure on now, especially after that earlier race. He's making the moves we don't usually see from him. He's very precise and calculated, but that seemed a little bit more desperate, and now he's edged Clark off the circuit again as well. Sakovic wants a piece of this too. He's right behind Henry Morse. It'd be devastating to see this go down to incident points this late on in the race, especially with how entertaining they've been. Stuart Clark is going slow. I think has he got an incident point limit? Has he received a drive-through penalty? I'm not sure. Or whether he got a slowdown from being that far off the circuit. Ridley's now trying to go past his teammate Stephen Burns. Stephen flies down the inside. Ridley makes a move as well. And it seems like it's all come unravel for Stuart Clark. I think he might have damage, you know. That's a massive, massive shame for Stuart. He was doing so well.
Well done, though, getting well out of the way if he's a stricken car. Meanwhile, the two championship protagonists continue to go wheel to wheel, side by side. But Henry knows that he doesn't have to fight for this position. He'll still have a healthy championship lead if he is to finish directly behind Jake Cranstone, regardless of where they are up on the field.
Yeah, definitely. He can be quite comfortable just sitting behind Jake, really. He doesn't have to make the move. Duncan Marai asking in the chat, what was Stuart Clark's car? Stuart Clark's machine, the independent car, is based on Mark Blair's old Vectra, which raced in the championship in 1999, I believe. If you look for Mark Blair BTCC Vectra, you'll see it. It's a dark blue, very shiny machine. Gorgeous looking car, actually, but Mark was not really a front runner, let's just say. He was racing in the Michelin Cup for Independence. These two, well, one of them's running in the Michelin Cup for Independence, the other is in a not Audi, as Stephen King represents the 1998 cars with this great Audi all over the back of the 1999 Arena International Motorsport Dan Downing machine, which was run by Will Hoy, late Will Hoy, and Russell Spence, who managed to put it over the fence here at Oulton Park in 1999 while Alan Menu sat in a gravel trap. And look at the two of them going at it now for this race lead. They know they've got a gap behind here, so Stephen can go for this and not worry about what he's losing, really, can't he?
Yeah, I tell you, wasn't Will Hoy the driver that turned up for it was in the second half of the season and then was just absolutely sublime in that Arena Motorsport car? I think he was.
He was quick for the car, oh, goodness me, but it was never race-winning material, unfortunately. It was not a perfect machine, as Henry Morse gets in front of Cranstone, round the outside into the chicane. He means business tonight, does Henry. Through he goes, back in front of Cranstone. That is big, big message sent there by Henry Morse. No mucking at all. Now back in front of Jake. There's still 1 lap to go, though, and I imagine Jake will want to return the favour.
Yeah, you can certainly picture Jake looking for a move up the inside, and actually a little bit wide of the apex. What's maybe all of that battling he was doing has taken a toll on the tyres, because Jake Cranstone, he's going to go for a lunge up the inside of Lodge Corner. No, he isn't, but for a moment it looked like whether he was sort of positioning his car. He's trying to throw Henry Morse off a little bit. Here we go, the white flag is being waved. Dan Downing and Stephen King lead us through now the avenue and down into Cascades. And defensive driving from Dan Downing, but is he going to suffer on the exit?
Oh, King's pushing and pushing and pushing, and well, he wasn't patient enough there, and I think he's cost himself quite dearly. Not sure if he would have got a slowdown penalty for that. I don't think you get them for being that far out at that part of Cascades. You used to. I'm not sure that you do anymore. Dan Downing looking a bit safer now in the lead. Cranstone looking down the inside. I think that's more defending than anything else. Apparently he's close to the incident limit. Thank you, Duncan Marai, by the way, for all the information through the race. I think he is communicating with the guys, or at least having a look at what's going on for them in the session, letting us know that he's close on the incident limit. Back to Dan Downing at the front, though. Just needs to hold on for a couple more corners, does Dan. And like I say, his highest place finish all season was 1 second place in the very first race of the season. And he hasn't even won a race in the independence category. He's had a tough night so far. Qualified really high up, was right in the fight in the opening stages of the race. And it was just that incident that cost him. The incident with the guy actually behind him as well, which is Stephen King. Stephen's pushing this one till the cows come home. Downing's going to be on the inside. He's going to break nice and early. Stephen King's going to try and send it on him. Oh, he's just turned in on him. He's just turned into him. I don't think Dan did anything wrong there, and he's going to feel like he didn't do anything wrong. Hopefully it doesn't affect them incident point limit-wise, but Dan Downing wins in the British Boring Car Championship, his first victory ahead of Stephen King. Patrick Dopart next up. Andy Fox second in the independents. Henry Morse finishes ahead of Jake Cranstone and extends the championship lead even further after a great night for Henry. Then it was Kyle Ridley up into 7th, ahead of Magic Sakovic, Stephen Burns and Michael Blake, who rounds out the top 10 ahead of Dave Waldock, Michael Elliott, John Roberts, Sam Van Olst and Stuart Clark. Well, he's going to be devastated after that one, Ed, because he was definitely hard done by there, wasn't he?
He really was hard done by, it's fair to say. But I'll tell you what, there are 4 things certain in life, which is life, death, taxes, and Patrick Dopart in 3rd place.
Yes.
Another wonderful result from him. It's obviously, people sort of go, oh, you only get 3rd place, but to be that consistently up in the order, up on the podium in this competitive grid, just shows he's the real talent. He's just not had the luck to win the races.
Yeah, absolutely. It's certainly nice to see that he's consistently getting the points. But that was really, really solid stuff between all these guys. Duncan Marai saying that's some of the best racing he's ever seen. Well, very glad that the guys have provided that, Duncan. We do certainly love them all for this. What a track Oulton Park is. It really demands a lot from the drivers, doesn't it, Ed? Because of how accurate you have to be everywhere around here. There is no remorse at all anywhere because of how narrow it is and how far away the walls are, or should we say how not far away the walls are. There's definitely no place to have an accident here that would be a small one at Oulton Park.
What an evening's worth of racing we've been treated to, Chaz. Drama up and down the field. But I tell you what, that was a real race meeting to remember.
Absolutely was. Sets us up for a fantastic grand finale. Unfortunately, the championship points getting shaken up quite a lot, though. But Dan Downing takes his first win overall and in the independence category in the British Boring Car Championship. Well done to Dan. He's worked really hard for that this season. Stephen King, 2nd place. Big points for him ahead of Patrick Dopart in 3rd. Andy Fox finishes in 4th place. He's had a really good night, to be fair, taking 2nd place in the independents. Henry Morse finishes 5th, just ahead of Jake Cranstone after another titanic fight in the middle of the pack between those two. Kyle Ridley recovers really well to finish in 7th place ahead of Magic Sakovic, then Stephen Burns and Michael Blake, who completes the top 10. Dave Waldock was next up in 11th, with Michael Elliott in 12th, John Roberts in 13th, Sam Van Olst 14th, and Stuart Clark means that all drivers finished in that one. Spotify doesn't like it when I'm talking consistently, everybody, so it tends to mute my microphone, or at least it mutes the music when I've been talking a certain amount of time. But we'll have a look back at some of the best pictures here, Ed, and, well, hopefully have a chat with some drivers in a minute. But what a night.
That was a amazing night worth of racing. Obviously, like you say, shame that the championship isn't going to be as close heading into the final race meeting as it was coming into this race meeting, but still, some of the action was absolutely wonderful up and down the field.
Yeah, great stuff as well. Oulton Park, a definite brilliant canvas for this place. We've been really, really excited about coming back here, and it's given us a real good opportunity to see what these drivers can do at their finest, you know, under a lot of pressure. We're told that Dan Downing is going to be in for an interview, which is lovely news. We see here Jake Cranstone making his way around some of the initial moments of the race. Let's have a chat, though, with our Race 2 winner, Dan Downing. Dan, congratulations, first off. You've been working so hard to get that this season, and it's finally paid off for you. It's been, well, nearly 2 months since you've been on the podium. You must be over the moon.
Oh, mate, I'm absolutely buzzing. That's the first time I've ever won any kind of league race.
Oh, really?
Race. Yeah. Any race I've entered, it's the first one I've actually won. So I am buzzing.
I'm not surprised, mate. I'm not surprised. I didn't realise that was the case. But you've not just won the race outright, but you've won the independent category as well tonight as well. So it's a double bubble.
Fantastic. I've finally brought some points back on Jake. I think he's pretty much wrapped that one up anyway.
Yeah, unfortunately, after doing the maths between rounds, he did wrap that up last time. But you're still up there, strong in second place, and you must be pretty pleased, despite the first race result, you know, to be able to show that you've got the pace and consistency to win a race like this. It's definitely not been an easy one for you, though, has it, defending from Stephen King?
Oh yeah, absolutely not. I mean, the first race, I was just thinking I'll sit back behind Henry and Jake, just wait for them to make any mistakes and try and pounce. But then there's a bit of an incident with Stevie and Kyle, and I think Stevie says I was blinking a bit, so I can only apologise for that if I was. But yeah, and then obviously the second race, I thought I was P10 in the first race, and it turned out I was P9. I was fighting Stuart Park desperately for that last place to get the reverse grid pole, because I was like, I've got no chance if I start 11th in a field this tight. It's so hard to get forward.
Yeah, absolutely. That was going to be one of my next questions, though. Because this field is so tight, do you ever know really what to expect from a race meeting when you go into it, or is it just a case of just pray?
Not well. You have a general feeling of who's going to be quick and stuff, but honestly, when it gets to the qualifying, it really, you just have to nail that lap in that moment, and there's only a very few people who are very consistent with that. Other people they'll absolutely nail the lap one time, another time they won't. You know, they'll find themselves thinking that they'll go in thinking, oh, I might be like second or third, and they come 8th or 9th, stuff like that. But yeah, no, for me, it's just I go in hoping that I can win, but at the end of the day, I know the field is so tight and everybody in here is so good that anyone can win on any given day. So yeah.
Well, it was absolutely great to watch, Dan, and you absolutely deserve that. We know how hard you've been working for that one. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go and enjoy the moment?
I just want to give a shout out to all the boys that have been giving us good races and good entertainment. It's been great fun.
Smashing stuff. Well,
Thank you to yourself.
Well, thank you very much, Dan. It's our absolute pleasure, mate. You've been a real star so far this season. We look forward to the final race meeting of the season with you at Silverstone. But for now, go and enjoy your evening, mate. Have a beer, have a champagne, whatever you want to have, and we will hopefully speak to you again at Silverstone. Have a good one.
And thank you very much, mate. Take care.
Cheers. Well, there we go, Ed. First time race winner in a league, Dan Downing. I had no idea. With the pace and capability Dan's got, I would have expected he'd won loads of races by now.
Absolutely. I mean, that's very difficult to believe, but I'll tell you what, he was a real class act out there tonight, as was this man. Chaz, why don't you take us away with Henry Morse?
Yes, indeed. Henry, you've done the business tonight in a way that really does look good for the final race meeting for you at Silverstone, but maybe not the way that you wanted it done in the first race. Talk us through your evening.
Yeah, I thought I had a really good enough lap for pole. Yeah, it was pole for about 10 minutes, but Jake got a real ripper in there at the end, which is good for him. Got that extra point, which is obviously, as we know, the whole season, 1 point has been the difference for probably most of the year. So that extra point for pole for him felt like a big blow for me. But yeah, I was all over him in the race. Finally able to put a move on him. Really, really fantastic battle. Really fun racing with him. Really clean. And then, yeah, there was it looked like there was a couple drivers that were having internet issues, and that was sort of the cause for one or two guys losing their reference points, and then that just kind of spiraled out of hand back there. It was not how I want to have big point swings in my favor, but that's what happened.
No, absolutely. You've got to take these things as they come sometimes, and that's racing. That's part of the world of online racing as well, is that these things can creep in instead of the usual technical failures you'd see in real life. But still, you had another great battle with Jake in the second race. It must give you so much confidence and so much joy knowing that your main championship rival can be door to door with you for 3 laps side by side, and the pair of you have ultimate respect. It must be great to feel that.
Yeah, it's a total thrill racing him. The stakes are always quite high, and the respect is high, and the door to door, there's no inch given. It's a total thrill racing him, and it's been great in this series. The way things have stayed relatively even keel throughout. There's not really been anything too out of hand.
Well, hopefully it stays that way going towards Silverstone for the final race meeting. We've already been there this season, but we'll be there under very different conditions this time. Are you confident going back there?
I'm feeling good. To be honest, when I saw the layout initially, I was concerned, just because it was one I was unfamiliar with. Yeah. But I quickly opened up YouTube and educated myself on the history of VTTC racing there. I said, okay, well, that's how it's done. And I performed quite well there earlier in the season. So I'm optimistic. I've been optimistic ever since that round. I was like, oh, well, thank God we're going back there because I had such a good round. But so that'll be nice to have that experience there, and that success there definitely will increase my confidence throughout.
Well, we look forward to it, Henry. And again, congratulations from us here on that first race win tonight, and obviously championship lead going into the finale. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to while we've got you and I?
Yeah, I'd have to give a shout out to my family that are watching this. They're really excitedly following along. And also shout out to Mauricio Gugelman.
Cracking stuff. Always a pleasure, Henry. Fantastic speaking to you. Well done, mate. And we'll see you at Silverstone in a week's time.
See you then. Have a good one.
Well, a very confident Henry Morse there, Ed, heading into one race meeting to go with a very healthy championship lead of 12 points. That's going to certainly get his week off to a very positive start in terms of the next 7 days waiting for that final race meeting to come around.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a week away, but tell you what, it's going to be ever so sweet to see both Jake Cranstone and, of course, Henry Morse battle it out at Silverstone for the season finale.
Absolutely will be. Thanks, as always, Ed, for your co-commentary. It's great to have you along. Thanks also to the championship sponsors, Sim Racing Magazine, Sim Stickers, and, of course, the title sponsor, Abruzzi Racewear, here as part of the British Boring Car Championship by Abruzzi Racewear. This has been Oulton Park, the wonderful island circuit, with Ed May and Chaz Draycott on commentary duties, and we've certainly enjoyed ourselves tonight. Thanks all of you for watching as well. Hope you've enjoyed the show, and make sure that you join us in a week's time for the championship finale at Silverstone. 2 more races to go, one of them pretty much being a night race. It's going to be an absolute blast. But for now, enjoy the rest of your evenings, everybody, and we'll see you again in a week's time. Have a good one. 4 French drivers at the French Grand Prix trying to win this on the final lap. They're 3 wide again. Guillaume down the inside. Guillaume moves across. They're both in front of Milan and Pouget.
But before you know it, we find ourselves here in the very final race of the competition.
And then they see truck racing and they think, this is crazy. These are 5-ton machines, 1,200 horsepower brake.
Oh, look at that switchback. Oh, he's been mugged and it's ready to go out. I love it. 10.5 minutes gone. Senna Lanson tries to go for the race lead.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Both go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Finish. I think Dennis Melchett has done enough to win the last round of the championship and to win the title all in one fell swoop.
Great Boring Car Championship, things are never chilled here. Honestly, the cars may be a bit dull, but wow, the racing certainly isn't.
Fastest lap of the race now, Ben Lambert.
Look at Andy Fox coming through the middle. He makes a little bit of contact. Dave Waldock is around and he's off on the grass.
Rayfield tries to go right round the outside of Druids. You do not do that and get away with it very often.
Takes the win in round 12. There's contact again! Fraser Smith and Dennis Melchett are off the circuit.